Welcome back to our discussion on autism. Chris Remick, we talked before the break about what causes autism. Do we know?
Well, the people in the field are working on it. There are a few things that are known. For example, we know that thalidomide caused autism. That was a drug taken in the 60s for morning sickness. And the children who took that were there was a lot of autism in that group.
That was the same medicine that caused children to be born without arms and legs.
Which was, yes, and that really helped them map out a lot. In fact, they were being studied for eye motility problems, this population, when they discovered this coincidence of a high degree of autism. So it's a serendipitous finding, but thalidomide does cause autism.
Heavy metals.
Heavy metals can cause autism. I don't think we're sure where they come from, but lead, yes. Doesn't always, but lead, mercury probably, yes, probably.
We have a lot of people in the central, northeastern part of the state now with well drilling that have, it's amazing to see impoundment ponds right next to schools filled with fracking fluid, which contains benzene, xylene, toluene, and so many things that we don't know about. And of course they evaporate into the air, and then kids are exposed to them. It would be interesting for a study in the Bradford, Susquehanna County to see if there's been an uptick in the last 2 or 3 years.
And that is something that the CDC, there's a place in New Jersey, in Brick Township, where there was a high level of autism. And the CDC did come in and do some studies on that. So that could be interesting. I don't think we know, what they do know is that lots of autism, and the numbers are in flux, but perhaps 90% are related to genetic mutations. Some of that is heritability, and some of it is that the genes are spontaneously mutating. Now that's in utero, but what is causing the genes to mutate? And we don't know, and perhaps it is some environmental influence.
Now at the break, you and I discussed the fact that you're working with the Commonwealth Medical College.
Yes.
Share that with our guests, because I think it's so exciting that we have the Commonwealth Medical College here in northeastern Pennsylvania, and they can do so many good things, and this is a great example.
Well, one of the things that, and I'm hoping I'm getting this right, the philosophy of this medical school is special in that they really want to be embedded into the community. And one of the ways they do that is that the medical students need to do, and their master's level basic science students need to do these community projects which are research-based. So they reach out to community folks, and in my case, they came to our autism center and they said, you know, what are some of the topics that you think we ought to do some research on? So they did some on locally on how are parents getting diagnosed, how are their children getting diagnosed, who's doing the diagnosing, and we found some interesting things.
As?
Such as, for the 80 families that responded, well over half initiated the referral for autism. The pediatrician was not as convinced that they might have had the symptoms.
Chris, how important is it for parents of an infant who suspect or beginning to suspect that there is something a little bit different about their baby to immediately become advocates for that baby? And
it's critical, and I think we see our best outcomes there. And what they can do is, if a person suspected that, they can go on a website and look up an instrument called the MChat, M-C-H-A-T. Many pediatricians, more and more pediatricians are using that in their office as well.
Now let's go back to that. How do they find that on the internet? The MChat.
You just Google capital M hyphen capital C-H-A-T, and you can take the screener online, and it will tell you if you should be concerned. Then you can take that to your pediatrician and help them help you. As many screeners are used in pediatricians' office.
Chris, I think people need to realize that pediatricians do wonderful work when you come in and are able to tell them my child has whooping cough, my child has a cold, is it whooping cough, my child has these little bumps on it, is it measles? But when it comes to something as subtle as some delayed learning, pediatrician in a 15-minute exam is at a real disadvantage knowing what's going on. So it really, what you've just given our audience, I think, is so critical that they should, if they have any doubts at all or any questions at all, by all means, Google MChat.
Yes, and they may have already had one done because the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that they're done at 18 months and 24 months. But it can be done before if the parents are concerned. And more pediatricians are using them in their office. And studies like what we're doing with TCMC, we hope will help us identify that.
TCMC.
I'm sorry, the Commonwealth Medical College.
Okay, great. What else are you doing at the Commonwealth Medical College?
Well, they evaluated our program, our early childhood program, kids under the age of 5, and asked if parents felt that their children improved over the course of the program, and several things like that. I believe that study was called Parents' Perception of Effectiveness of this kind of therapy, and overall the parents were pleased. We're also working on some outcome with Dr. Karpiak, I'm sure she won't mind, at the University of Scranton, and seeing that the progress, in numbers. We do have outcome data on the children that come to our early program. And this year the medical students are looking at a couple of other projects, and they do that every year. They'll do 2.
We are so blessed to have the institutions of higher learning in this community that we have. I mean, when I was, again, on the school board, we brought in students at the business school, graduate students at the business school, to spend an entire semester looking at the business of education. And they came back at the end of the semester with certain recommendations, what type of light bulbs we should be using, how we should be staffing, how we should be testing, how we could better fund ourselves, and how it was amazing. And they were kids, some of them, graduates of the Scranton School District, who were then as graduate students at the University of Scranton. Tremendous, tremendous help to us, and I'm sure the Commonwealth Medical College and the University of Scranton is likewise a great asset to you.
Yes, this year the project that they're working on is asking parents, what kind of therapies are you choosing? So we're wondering, are parents using the ones that are more empirically based, like the program we have at Friendship House? Or are they doing some less medically supported or even downright dangerous treatments? So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
The DSM is going to change fairly soon.
Yes.
And all of the different types of disabilities that we lump under autism will be centered in one category now.
Yes.
But when we come back, I want you to talk about some of the problems the kids have that are now called and referred to as Asperger's or Rett's or others. So please stay tuned to You Be the Judge. I'm Todd O'Malley with the law offices of O'Malley & Langen. If I say the word tragedy, what do you think? Floods? Hurricanes? Devastation on a huge scale. I bet not one of you thought work injury. And that's a problem in our society. Just because something happens one person at a time doesn't make it any less significant. Over 3.5 million people are injured or killed on the job every year, each an individual tragedy. If you've been hurt at work, call O'Malley & Langen, 1-800-817-COMP.